If you're a parent, you know that sound. The sound of a restless child in the middle of the night. It's frustrating, right? But what if the cause isn't what you think it is? Today, we are going to tackle one of the most common, but honestly, one of the most misunderstood childhood issues, and hopefully give you some real peace of mind.
This scene is it's too real for so many of us. You go in, you find your child irritable, they're exhausted, and they're scratching like crazy. You've tried everything, you're at your wit's end, and you are just desperate to figure out what is going on so your family can finally get a good night's sleep.
You've checked for rashes, you've tried all the creams, but nothing seems to work. The problem just keeps going, and the mystery gets deeper. So what if the real cause here is something you can't even see?
Okay, so in this first part, let's unmask that hidden culprit. We're going to figure out what's really behind all that itching and look at the very specific, and I mean gold standard test that doctors use to find it. Meet Enterobius vermicularis, or as pretty much everyone calls it, the pinworm. Now here's the secret to understanding that maddening nighttime itch. The female worm literally travels out of the rectum at night to lay thousands of microscopic eggs on the skin. That's what causes that intense irritation and completely wrecks your child's sleep. Now you'd think, okay, parasite, we'll do a stool test. But for pinworms, that's almost always the wrong move. And understanding why is so important for getting the right diagnosis. And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? A stool test is looking for evidence inside the body. But remember, the pinworms lay their eggs outside on the skin. That's exactly why the tape test is so brilliant. It's designed to collect a sample from the precise spot where the evidence is. It's a really simple idea, but it's incredibly accurate. All right, let's get practical. Doing this test correctly at home is absolutely key to getting an accurate result. So let's walk through the exact steps you need to take. But first, before we get into the how, we have to talk about the when. This is the single most important factor for this test to work. Seriously, the entire success of this whole thing hinges on getting the timing right. Okay, here we go, the 4 key steps. And that first one, it's non-negotiable. You have to get the sample the second your child wakes up. Before they go to the bathroom, before a bath, before any wiping. Any of that will just remove the eggs and you'll miss your chance. After that, it's pretty straightforward. Just press the tape to the skin, stick it on the slide, and seal it up for the lab. Now, why 3 times, you might be wondering? Why not just once and done? Well, it's because the female worm doesn't necessarily lay eggs every single night. So by testing for 3 mornings in a row, you massively increase your chances of catching them in the act. It makes sure that if you get a negative result, you can actually trust it. So we've covered the how-to, but now let's zoom out a little. Because, a pinworm diagnosis is about more than just a test. It's about understanding all the symptoms, dealing with the unfair stigma that comes with it, and knowing that thankfully there is a simple solution. That nighttime itch is the classic sign, of course, but there are other clues to look for. All that lost sleep can lead to serious irritability and mood swings. You might even notice your kid grinding their teeth at night. That's a less obvious one. And hey, if an adult in the house has similar symptoms, that's a huge red flag that it's spread. Okay, listen up, because this is probably the most important thing you'll hear today. Let's be perfectly clear. This has absolutely nothing to do with how clean your house is. There is zero shame or embarrassment in this. Zero. This isn't a parenting fail, it's just a biological reality of being a kid. Pinworms are super contagious, and they spread like wildfire in places like schools and daycares. They can show up in any home, no matter how spotless it is. And after all the stress, the worry, and the sleepless nights, here is the absolute best news. Once you get that positive diagnosis from the tape test, the fix is unbelievably simple. Treatment is usually just a single dose of an oral medication, and the relief can be almost immediate. So let's end on this thought. For all the frustration, all the lost sleep, the answer to your problem might just be waiting on a simple, painless piece of tape. It's such a small step, but it can solve a huge problem and finally bring those peaceful nights back to your family.